Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we cut through the noise to give you the essential knowledge you need to be well-informed and fast.
Today we're looking at something really interesting, a strategic blueprint.
Yeah, it's about how a business can, successfully blend deep local trust with massive national power. We're calling this deep dive the local hustle with the national muscle.
And this whole idea is just so critical, especially when you're talking about industries that, well, live and breathe crisis.
Right.
When you're facing a catastrophe, a fire, a flood, mold, you are at your most vulnerable. You desperately need immediate personal help from someone who cares about your neighborhood.
But you also need to know that the team walking through your door has, world-class training and the best resources.
Exactly. That's the tension. You need both.
So our source material today, it gets right into the operations of a specific SERVPRO franchise. It covers Lufkin, Nacogdoches, and Longview.
That's a huge footprint in Deep East Texas.
It is. And we've looked at their history, their staffing, and their community involvement, which is, frankly, astounding.
So our mission here isn't just to summarize. We want to really unpack the specific ways this company pulls off that hustle with muscle strategy.
It's not just a list of things they did.
No, it's a model. It shows exactly how that top-tier corporate training has to intersect with deeply rooted local knowledge to actually work in disaster recovery. This is all about building measurable resilience.
Okay, so let's start with the hustle. The boots on the ground stuff, the relationships that make it feel so genuinely local.
It really begins with the founder story, Brad and Jayna Hammack.
They're native Texans, right?
Native Texans, high school sweethearts, and just deeply connected to that area of East Texas. They didn't just parachute in. They started the franchise back in 2006 because they saw a need in their own community.
In the beginning, it's a classic entrepreneur story.
Yeah.
They started with basically nothing.
The bare essentials. The source mentions one single vehicle they nicknamed Old Betsy, some equipment, and a whole lot of drive.
It's that classic contrast, a tiny local startup against these immense corporate recovery needs.
And that contrast really helps you understand their strategy. They went from that one truck to what they are today. A huge staff, a fleet of service vehicles, a massive service area.
The growth is undeniable.
For sure. But the source material really emphasizes that their core mission is still about minimizing that interruption, getting property back to the standard they call, like it never even happened.
That is a high bar. And you can only hit that if the team doing the work is truly, bought in.
Exactly. The staff are described as the real heroes.
So how do they scale that initial culture? The trust you get from just old Betsy and a small team.
Mm-hmm.
How does that grow into a multi-city operation?
That is the key question. I mean, usually when a small business scales, you lose that personal touch.
Right.
But they fought that by making community involvement a job requirement, not just some extra thing.
So their sales and marketing teams weren't just running ads.
No, they were told to, and I'm quoting here, embed themselves in the community's volunteering and building strong local relationships.
Which means they're not strangers when a crisis hits. People already know them from, a school fundraiser or a charity drive.
Precisely. And that's non-negotiable because this work demands absolute 24/7 availability. The hustle is that friendly office staff answering the phone day or night.
You're talking to a neighbor, not some random call center.
You are. And that has to extend to the work crews, too. The source says the production teams often go above and beyond.
That implies a kind of local investment that you just can't mandate from a corporate office.
It implies accountability. When your crew is made up of people who live down the street, their reputation is on the line with every single job. That local ownership, it's essential for building trust in those high-stress moments.
So that's the local hustle. It's the 24/7 availability plus that personal stake in the community.
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so the local hustle wins you that initial trust. But you mentioned massive disasters, complex problems, stuff that's way too big for even the best local team. How do they handle that?
And that's where we have to shift the conversation.
To the national muscle.
To the national muscle. We're now looking at the institutional backing. SERVPRO as a brand has been around since 1967, and this one franchise is supported by a network of over 2,000 others.
2,000. So if a major hurricane hit East Texas, they could call in help.
Immediately. Reinforcements, specialized gear, everything. But that only works if the training is identical everywhere.
That's the key, standardization.
Absolutely. And the proof of that starts with their training. The staff go through this rigorous, continuous training at a corporate facility. They have to hold these demanding IICRC industry certifications.
Okay, IICRC.
Okay.
It's one of those acronyms. We should probably break that down for people listening.
We should. It stands for the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification. It's basically the gold standard for the science behind restoration.
Right, so you see acronyms like WRT, FSRT, ASD. They sound impressive, but what do they actually mean for someone whose basement is full of water?
Great question. It means they don't just know how to turn on a fan. A water damage restoration technician, a WRT, they understand the physics of moisture.
But the physics.
Yeah, how water moves through drywall versus concrete versus wood. They know how to set up what's called a psychrometric drying environment to stop mold before it even starts. This isn't just cleanup, it's structural preservation.
Okay, and what about FSRT, fire and smoke?
That's about chemistry. Smoke isn't just soot. It's acidic. It's corrosive. A non-certified crew might just wipe a wall down. An FSRT-certified tech knows you need special neutralization techniques to stop the smoke from literally eating away at the structure.
Wow.
An ASD, applied structural drying, is even more specialized. It's all about drying the building itself as fast and efficiently as possible.
So the national muscle isn't just more trucks. It's this deep, specialized knowledge base that takes all the guesswork out of it.
Exactly what you need in a crisis. And that standardization lets the local franchise offer a huge range of services. That's the real power of scale. They can go from cleanup right into a complete rebuild.
And it lets them handle the really sensitive stuff, too. The things most local places couldn't touch.
Right. Crime scenes, biohazard, vandalism, and now, of course, specific protocols for disinfecting for viruses like COVID-19.
That is complex work, high liability work.
It is. And think about the logistics. The national system provides support for packing, inventorying, moving everything out, cleaning it, and moving it back.
So if your house is a total loss, one team can manage all your physical belongings.
Everything, from inventory to restoration to secure storage. A purely local company just couldn't sustain that level of specialized gear and, frankly, secure space on their own.
So the national network provides safety, consistency, and a real intellectual edge. Which brings up the question, if they have all this massive national support, how do we know they haven't lost that connection to East Texas? How do they prove they're still truly embedded there?
They prove it with visible and sustained community engagement. It's more than just seeing those bright green trucks everywhere.
It's about being partners.
Foundational partners. The source material lists their affiliations, and it goes way beyond just networking.
I mean, sure, they're in all the chambers of commerce. Longview, Nacogdoches, Kilgore, Lufkin. That's standard stuff for a business.
But look deeper. Look at the public safety involvement.
The Citizens Police Academy, the Lufkin Citizen Fire Academy.
That is a brilliant strategic move. They are actively spending time and resources to understand how first responders operate, what their pain points are.
So when they participate in the Fire Academy, it's not just marketing.
It's operational intelligence. It's trust building. So when a fire marshal on site recommends them, it's because he actually knows them. He knows their standards from shared experience.
We built a relationship that isn't just about a transaction.
Exactly. And you see that reinforced with their other work. The American Red Cross, the Adopt a School program, the Rotary Club. When they're supporting schools and civic groups, they're showing their commitment is about more than just chasing the next disaster call.
And I saw they're also deep into industry-specific groups like the Texas Apartment Association and the East Texas Insurance Association. That has to give them a huge edge.
A massive edge. Being part of the apartment association means they're trusted partners with the big property management groups.
Who are often the biggest clients after a storm.
Absolutely. They aren't scrambling for work. They're already certified and vetted, which is why they won the Vendor of the Year award from the Piney Woods Apartment Association.
This level of involvement, it really does separate them. They're not just vendors, they're part of the region's fabric.
And the success of this whole model, the hustle meeting the muscle, you can actually quantify it in their awards.
This is where it all comes together, right?
It really is. They were named Business of the Year in both Lufkin and Nacogdoches. That's pure community endorsement. You can't fake that.
But at the same time, they're getting top corporate awards. Millionaire's Gold, Director's Gold, highest growth.
And that's the fascinating part. The fact that they're winning local service awards and corporate growth awards simultaneously proves the model is balanced.
So the local hustle is generating the business.
And the national muscle is enabling the quality and the capacity to sustain that growth. The community work isn't draining their resources, it's fueling them. It's a system where trust is the main driver of both profit and resilience.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, if you're looking to replicate success? I mean, this deep dive shows that this franchise's success is rooted in this perfect blend.
You have that passionate local dedication,
Yeah.
starting with Brad and Jayna and old Betsy.
Paired with that high-standard, resource-rich national system. The constant training, the specialized gear, that massive 2,000 franchise network.
And the key takeaway here is that real, lasting resilience is achieved when that personal, local service is backed by nationally standardized expertise.
It ensures two things that are usually at odds with each other.
Right. It means quality is consistent and non-negotiable, and coverage can scale, whether the disaster is a single burst pipe or a catastrophe that hits the whole region. It's a blueprint for trust and efficiency.
It's the difference between hiring a helpful neighbor and hiring a trained specialist. Except they somehow manage to be both at the same time.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. How could this specific business model, where that deep community embedding is mandatory and performance is enforced by rigorous corporate training, how could that be applied to other sectors?
Like what?
Well, think about personalized healthcare, where trust is everything, or independent financial advising, which is all about personal reputation. Could integrating this hustle with muscle model increase trust and reliability across the board in those fields too?
That is a fascinating challenge to think about. And that is all the time we have for this deep dive. We hope you feel a little more well-informed,